Aloha. Today I wanted to jump off the last video and get straight into the pretty much the technology of consciousness and how we experience our reality, the relationship that we have with time, the relationship that we have with consciousness, the relationship that we have with each other, the relationships that we have with ourselves, the relationships that we have with the conscious and the subconscious reality, your dreams, your non-physical reality, your connection to the soul or source, or all of these connections are how we experience are relative to the velocity of the expansion of consciousness. So seeing this reality from the perspective of humanity and seeing humanity as like when you look at the complexities of a flower and how a flower gets pollinated and the pretty much the sexual reproduction organs of or mechanisms of a flower are the same as a human. You have the masculine, and then you have the feminine, and then you have a seed that gets pollinated and reproduces another fruit or another berry, from all coming from the root structure of that flower being able to produce the stalk, the trunk, the canes, the flowers, the seeds. All of this is rooted in its own plane of experience, which is the same plane of experience that we are rooted in and are birthed from. This is where the scientism community and the half-assed version of the monkey evolution Big Bang Theory human story comes in and says, well, since we know this, since we are aware of this information, then we are the smartest people in the universe. And since we know all this information and we discovered it, like they discovered the Americas, the so-called New World, then we can have dominance over consciousness and the people. So in a sense, it's time stealing. It's stealing our reality. So in reference to the relationship that the human experience has with consciousness overall and this earth plane, infinite plane experience, there is a very definite relationship between the level of consciousness of the conscious beings on this plane of existence and the plane of existence itself. How I'm seeing it is that the hardware in reference to like comparison to like a computer, the hardware is the plane of existence itself. The hardware is the body, the human body, the earth body. The software can be seen as consciousness, and the software of the soul could be, or the earth can be the collective tapping into our reality. The energy that predates the information that adds up to reproducing stuff like flowers and animals and every kind of life force energy, every piece of material that's part of this grand experience we call the earth plane, the infinite earth plane. How many different animals are here? How many different species of plants in the plant kingdom? How many different insects? How many different personalities in the human program? How many different cultures? How many different instruments come from those cultures, how many different, like how the diversity is beautiful. And this is what the system is trying to keep us from understanding, with triggering the racism agenda, with triggering the LGBT agenda, with trying to confuse the relationship between the divine masculine and the divine feminine. Because once you disrupt that relationship, you're disrupting the overall relationship, the relationship of reproduction. When you say that there's an overpopulation program or an overpopulation thing going on, and it separates you from the rest of the earth plane. That's from a Western civilization perspective. Now, this is like telling you half the story to get you to think and act a certain way. Like they tell you that climate change is going on, so they can create these, and then they convince you to get this geoengineering information in your face, but they don't want to deal with the carbon emissions that are being put out by the money changers. So all of the blame has to go on to the individual. It's half-ass understanding, just like the half understanding of the relationship between the divine masculine and the divine feminine, the half understanding of alchemy, which is at best the scientism perspective in relationship to the balances of alchemy of the science, true science, and the soul essence. These relationships are getting manipulated down to the very natures of the single mother household, destroying the energies, the masculine energy, literally emasculating the black man in Hollywood, with putting them in dresses and creating all of these celebrities that will do anything to just stay famous and stay in that, and they're choosing people with a level of consciousness that will continue to allow that to maintain the level of consciousness of the masses. This is what Hollywood is. This is what celebrities are. This is what the mainstream media is. It's all about manipulating the software, which is the consciousness of this entire experience. So if you just have a smartphone and you don't have any software, you basically have a paperweight. And even if you have that hardware, even if that hardware is sick and diseased, you basically have like a paperweight that's with like spikes on it. So it's going to, if you put it on like a piece of paper, it's going to put holes in that paper. So this system is about creating gaps in our reality to create codependent beings, not only to have people buying into the system, the physicality system of based upon separation and destruction, but to also separate the masses from tapping into their true potential. You can't just beat the shit out of people. You have to make them dumb at the same time. You have to disempower them so they won't fight back. This is what the public education system is. This is what the politics are, the university system, the Big Bang Theory. So when they tell you that you're just a monkey from a dinosaur, then you don't have any purpose or meaning. Your connection with the soul is null and void. You're just a thing that happens to exist by pure chance. That's what the monkey evolution program is. We just happened to exist. When you look at all of the intelligence that's part of something as simple as a flower, when you look at the intelligence that says something as simple as your dog and your cat, like the details of their existence, the experiencer is that. So that goes back to what I was saying in the last video. The experiencer is where the money really is. It's where the software really is. How you're going to interpret the reality is based upon the interpreter, the experiencer. So when you look at something as simple as a dog and a cat, if you're looking at it from that simple perspective, you say, that's just a dog and that's just a cat. But it's the same way like looking at a flower. When you look at it, that's just a flower. But you can look at a flower like you look at the person that you love, like looking at a woman. Like, you can look into the depths of what made that person who she is. You can look at the intricacies, the details of the personality. You can look at the petals. You can look at the relationship between, like the ancient Egyptians understood, with the Ankh and the reproductive process, the relationship between the divine masculine and the divine feminine. The hardware has a direct reflection on the software when you have a relationship based upon, first and foremost, the non-physical. So when you have the physical being manipulated with genetic modification and psychological modification of understanding what the physical is with the heliocentric model and the university system, then that will affect the software. If you have a program that's affecting the software, which is the level of consciousness and your relationship with time, your relationship with the soul, the non-physical, your relationship with dreams, then that will also affect the hardware. This is a relationship. It's a dance that is not separated at all. We only believe it's separated because we have been sold a lemon bucket car. So and just told that you're driving around a monkey car to just drive around. It's like giving a monkey a smartphone. Like, if you give a monkey, so if we have the technology of consciousness, and you can see that the consciousness is like software and the hardware is like your smartphone. If the experiencer of that software and hardware, which is in that as that smartphone, you give that technology to a monkey, they're not going to experience the internet. They're not going to truly experience everything that they can experience on that phone. They're just going to like beat it up against the wall or throw it around or wipe their butt with it. Whatever it is, that's what a monkey's going to do with a smartphone. It's basically just another rock. It's another thing. So this is what I was talking about in the last video, about manipulating the experiencer and then creating a childlike adolescent magic trick to make individuals think that they are having a human experience, but we're not. We don't understand the software. We don't understand the depths of the hardware. When you don't understand consciousness, you're not going to understand the human experience. When you don't understand the relationship that you have with the plane of existence, the physical reality, this dimension, then you're not going to understand the maximum potential of the physical body. So when we are locked into this half-assed at best understanding of the alchemical relationship of humanity and the experience as a whole, then we just get locked down into this monkey mind version of using a smartphone. It's like a monkey using a smartphone. It's not you're not going to get anything out of it. So I wanted to relate this to some questions that were asked yesterday about me speaking on the Mandela Effect, and the another question speaking about like consciousness and how we are all connected. And these were two things that I really wanted to talk about after the last video, and really just kind of go into how this relates how this relates to the plane of existence as a whole, our relationship with the physical reality, the non-physical reality, time, the dream space, the conscious, the subconscious reality, the electric and magnetic, the duality existence, and the shifting of consciousness that I'm seeing and have been talking about since almost a year ago now in reference to the Mandela Effect. And it's like over a year ago now, because this video was just in May and I was referencing it a few weeks or months before that. But this video is one of my earlier videos where I was referencing the Mandela Effect, and it's one of the reasons why I haven't really talked about the Mandela Effect in a while is because I still feel the same way as I did almost a year ago, as in reference to, what this video was talking about. And I listened to it, and it was one of my earlier videos, so there's like a lot of uhs and all kinds of stuff in there, but still a lot of uhs here now. The overall perspective of this video is still the same perspective that I have now. The Mandela Effect is just another form of understanding the balances of nature and the shifting of the reality itself, the physical reality itself, in reference to the human consciousness. So if it's like shifting out of that monkey with a smartphone storyline, magic trick. It's like the magic trick that I referenced in the last video of children being susceptible to cheap magic tricks, and like, oh my God, how did you do that? It's like, oh, well, I'm a magician, man. So it's like, wow, you do magic? I want to learn magic. The kids fall into that program because that's the level of consciousness that they are in their particular moment in that journey, in that experience. The consciousness, the massive consciousness as a whole, has been subjected to the adolescent at best magic tricks of the scientism religion, the heliocentric model, the Big Bang theory, the monkey evolution theory, the gravity theory, the law, the relativity theory. All of these theories are magic tricks that don't only affect our hardware and how we believe in. So when we're sold like synthetic hardware, like you have a car, you have a smartphone, you have the university system, you have a MacBook Pro, you have a camera that could zoom in 1,000,000 times, you have all this stuff. So you're supposed to worship that stuff. That's like technology is like the Jesus that died for your sins in the scientism religion. So you have to, if you say anything about the Jesus, then, or if you say anything about the smartphone technology and the car that has, it turns its high beams on its own, like, how could you not love this Western civilization? How dare you speak about the Jesus scientism? Like, it's this whole thing that exists that keeps us, like, we keep ourselves. It's nothing but a dogma. We keep ourselves from looking into what it is that we are on a deeper layer. So we have the balances of nature, the divine feminine and the divine masculine, are heavily ingrained in our relationship to the hardware of the earth plane experience, of our relationship to ourselves, the purpose and the meaning between our birth and our so-called death or westing, our east, our sunrise, and our west, our sunset. So we have this relationship that has been manipulated by an artificial understanding of our reality for eons, for many generations, that has affected the level of consciousness of the people. So when you are playing with the software, it's like a parasite or a virus in the software. We have been spammed. We have been hacked. Our software has been hacked for many generations. And when that happens, you will be subjected to magic tricks, childlike magic tricks. And if you believe in those magic tricks, then that will affect how you experience your reality. So the experiencer has been manipulated. The way we have the relationship that we have with time, consciousness, the hardware and the software as a whole has been completely unknown. So one of the first steps of getting into the true alchemical relationship of the human experience, the relationship with consciousness, the relationship with the earth plane as a whole, not subjecting ourselves to the cheap magic and the illusions of the so-called powers that be, who have ultimately, from my perspective, these are the non-physical entities that have separated themselves from the Most High, ultimately to maintain the illusions that they are gods and kings of the universe. You can see this with Neil deGrasse Tyson and Bill Nye, who says if you just don't believe in scientism as it's told to you, if you're talking about this poppycock like consciousness and all this other nonsense, then something is wrong with you, and you're just a crazy person that's no different than these religious quacks that talk about creationism and all this other stuff. So everything, the baby of consciousness literally gets thrown out with the bathwater of how we interpret this experience as a whole. So that has actual side effects in your reality, just as when you lock yourself into kindergarten, first grade, and second grade, you start to lose the relationship with your dreams. It's the same thing. So if that happens in 5 to 7 years old, then what do you think happens from 10 to 13 years old, 20 to 23 years old, 30 to 33 years old, 40 to 44 years old? Like, what do you think happens overall, individually and collectively, over generations? How does that affect our relationship individually with ourselves and collectively with each other? It's going to be a huge effect when you have billions of people falling for the childlike magic tricks of scientism, cheap magicians. And that will affect how we experience our reality. Like I was talking about in the last video, a tree falling in the woods, if nobody's around, will it still make a sound? Well, the tree is alive. It still has a life force energy. It might not be alive now, but it had some kind of soul essence. So that energy of that falling tree exists in some kind of way. Whether you hear it, whether it translates into a sound language that you hear, which is what the whole question is based upon, ultimately really doesn't matter. So the question itself is bogus, because you're not taking into the account the experiencer, which is the tree, not you listening to the tree fall. It's the tree and the experience that tree is falling in. That is how, whether or not that is the actual sound in reference to, it's not relative to whether you hear it or not. It's the experiencer. So you are the experiencer when you're listening to that tree fall. If you're not there, then there still will be something else experiencing that energy, if it exists in some kind of way. So we have so you can see with this image right here, The patriarchal program is the worshiping of the linear experience, the masculine design. And it's a half-ass version of that at best when you don't have the relationship with the feminine aspect. When the cycles of time, the eternity, the magic, the non-linear, the artistic perspectives, when you don't have the balances between both, then it's like disconnecting a circuit. The hardware and the software won't function because it's disconnected from the energy. It's the circuit has been broken. The circuit is not connected of the entire process that is the human consciousness maximum potential, the human experience maximum potential within this earth plane as a whole. The circuit is broken when you separate the divine masculine from the divine feminine. So this is what I'm seeing is what's happening with the Mandela Effect. The circuit is being reconnected. We are reconnecting to the true energy essence, and it's going to manifest just like when you lose your dreams, when you lock yourself in the kindergarten and the ABCs and the NASA program, you lose your dreams. So your dreams are something that can be related to something as non-understandable as the Mandela Effect. It's the same sort of how the hell is this shit happening sort of experience. And that happens in kindergarten. This is happening on a collective scale. The Mandela Effect is happening on a collective scale. And it's because in relation to separating from our dreams from kindergarten, our circuit has been disconnected to separate us from our dreams and lock us into a synthetic circuit, which is the birth certificate program circuit, the fiat currency, the materialistic version of reality that is the patriarchal program of the Big Bang heliocentric model, just an explosion of sperm out of nothing. So you just nothing. Like that explosion, the Big Bang explosion of sperm wasn't birthed by a mother before that shit. Get the fuck out of here. So this is that half understanding, worshiping of the patriarchal design, which is called the Big Bang, creating this linear dead solar system. This is why you have all these dead planets around. So if those planets are dead, even if you have some kind of understanding of astrology and the relationship that you have to planets, they're dead. They're not light bodies in the sky that create this relationship with the earth plane as a whole and the relationship with the sun and the moon, and they don't have any kind of meaning and purpose. There's just these dead bodies that float around in space just like you. You're a dead monkey body that floats around as the manager of Office Depot, trying to stay alive or stay relevant in this experience because of what? Just so you can make a baby and make another dead planet body baby to be the next generation of Office Depot associate managers and all that other shit. So this is that synthetic universal reality that people are breaking. So we were broken when we locked into the public education system, but how I'm seeing the Mandela Effect, we are breaking that broken system, which has effects, side effects, which are reconnecting to that circuit, reconnecting the energy, and you will have some kind of effects like the Mandela Effect that are relative to like the dreams. So when you were disconnected, when you were locked into kindergarten, now you're being reconnected to, and you will have something experiencing like a dream. So this is what I'm seeing is the awakening, and I referenced in this video the Sophia, the New Age program was calling it the Sophia Effect. I haven't seen anything since then, but Sophia is just another name for the Earth. So it's the Mother Earth, the Mother energy, the feminine energy is awakening. And this is when you see all of these women marches, and that's the commercial version, when they get these Hollywood actors out there wearing giant vaginas on their head talking about women's power. This is what women power is about. We need to stick together and challenge the man, which is Trump. It's this fake villain shit that they put out there to create fake superheroes to make you buy in to the synthetic reality that still maintains the so-called powers that be, the haves and the have-nots. And this is all by manipulating the consciousness of the experiencer to think that the experience that they are visualizing from their limited perspective is the end-all be-all. That has an effect on consciousness and the experience as a whole. So this is literal time stealing. So in this video, I was going into the vowels, like the actual letters changing, the language changing, how we interpret reality, interpret consciousness on one level of consciousness is through language. So the language, how I'm seeing what's happening with the language in the Mandela Effect is it's shifting. And we're aware of it rather than just being ignorant of it. So what's happening on one end is the people who are realizing the Mandela Effect are really just becoming more aware of their experience, their consciousness, whether they realize it or not. We're having a deeper relationship with the experience as a whole. This is the threshold between conscious, free will, sovereign beings choosing to be slaves or choosing to stand in your power of the experiencer. This is the threshold where the system is trying to sell you technology, sell you artificial consciousness, sell you the synthetic version of reality in order to worship that fake God and king that has been put up on this pedestal over generations throughout our experience. And it goes down to the very natures of, how our memory, how we experience time, and the language that we speak. So this is the vow with yourself. You're the vow with the Most High essence. All of these that's the vow with the self as the individual, and the vow with the Most High is your infinite soul essence, your infinite experience. All one and the same when you understand the circuit of reality, the circuit of the electromagnetic circuit of consciousness. So we have the language that is shifting. The synthetic version of reality is being revealed for what it is, how it's manipulating our consciousness, how the Gnostics and certain occult people and different religious factions interpret this shift is pretty much all the same. When, from my perspective, in the relationship that we're coming back to realizing, like, the word God is a masculine. We don't even use the word goddess. The birthing. So the two are the same essence, balance. That's one circuit. So this is how deep we are locked into this out of balance program, that the Mandela Effect is showing us that there's something more when we turn into ourselves and outside of the synthetic version of ourselves. So we're going to have things that pop up in our reality that are not really going to make sense, kind of like dreams, but they will be part of your experience. So that's what I'm seeing the Mandela Effect is, once we start tapping into these realities. And then on the synthetic version of manipulating this natural process, the same way the New Age wants to jump in front of this shift in consciousness and say, well, it's all about love and light, and we just have to be happy and compassionate with everything, and that's it, and we'll just allow this system to just continue on its process of maintaining slave ownership over the masses, because it's us that are changing, and we just have to trust our government to do what it's going to do, because they are of a different vibration and they will do this. It's one-sided. It's not tapping into the essence of who and what we are on a deeper layer. It's not tapping into the fire that is the destructive nature balanced with the creative nature. In order for the balance between the dark and the light to truly take effect and root itself, the programs that are benefiting off of the lack of consciousness of the individuals and benefiting off of the sickness and the disease have to be destroyed. There is nothing bad about destruction when you understand destruction from the Most High perspective. When you die, that's understood as destroying. Like your body is just, your physical body is destroyed, but your soul essence is, which is the creative part of you, is the non-physical. It will never die. But in order for you to rise in another layer of consciousness, in a higher vibration of experience, this body we interpret as dying, which is a form of destruction. It's natural. So the system that is in place, that is a parasite to the consciousness and the earth plane experience as a whole, has to die in order for the essence of who and what we are to rise within this experience. You can't have both at the same time. You can take the highest vibrations of that experience and interpret them into the next vibration that you are experiencing, but you will never be able to take the entire foundation, because that foundation is built on the blood and the bones of the consciousness as a whole. If you can't let that shit go, then you as the experiencer will remain in that level of consciousness and that experience that is largely an illusion. That's what I'm seeing is the threshold with the Mandela effect, and pretty much like the Google hive mind, the synthetic hive mind, the people that will just believe whatever they are told by Google. Google is still telling you about the heliocentric model. Google is still telling you about the Big Bang and the government and all this other stuff. It's literally the artificial consciousness. And like I said, there are positives, obviously, to it, but that's the thing. The system has to sell you bags of shit caked in candy sprinkles to make you think that's good, that something good is happening. This is why technology is released on certain times. This is why we are distracted by all kinds of Hollywood movies and NASA programming, because you have to believe, or the people who believe in that system have to believe in it in order to make it real. It's the magic show. You need child mentalities, actual consciousness to make it real. The magic show is NASA and the scientism as a whole, and your magicians are Bill Nye, Neil deGrasse Tyson, Michio Kaku, Ray Kurzweil, and all these Brian Cox, all these other people who are Carl Sagan, all these other people who are getting in front of your face and telling you this is how this is, and if you don't think like this, then something is wrong with you. So there's a problem with that. And yeah, so this experience is starting to realize a deeper layer of who and what we are. So like in this video, a year ago, ISIS was a lot more in the news, and even today. But ISIS is the feminine energy, and when we're talking about these magicians work on an energetic level, so you have to be separated from the understandings of that energy, that shift, by mainstream demonization, by labeling terrorists a group called ISIS, which is largely created by the magicians themselves to make you believe in this terrorist group the same way 9/11 made you believe we were supposed to bomb Iraq, and then Al-Qaeda, and then Afghanistan, and Bin Laden, and all this other stuff. When you already know that every single war is being funded and created by the so-called powers that be so they can make a profit over the masses to maintain the haves and the have-nots. Every side is being played, and every illusion is being played. At the same time, on a metaphysical layer, we have to be separated from the essence of who and what we are on the deepest layer. And labeling a terrorist group ISIS subconsciously separates you from the essence of the divine feminine. So in the Mandela Effect, people aren't buying the shit. They aren't buying that. So that's subconsciously and non-physically, the spiritually reconnecting you to what's outside of that illusion. And people who interpret their reality from a particular language or dogma or perspective or whatever use these labels like Sophia and Isis, the Egyptians, and the Gnostics, and all these other people have interpreted the same energies from a different language. These are just energies, these are just labels for like Earth and the divine feminine and so on and so forth. So when people are tapping into that energy, regardless of what language you speak, it's going to have an effect on the experience as a whole. So when we are doing that on our own, we are affecting how we experience the experiencers. We are affecting the entire experience. And this is how I'm seeing what the Mandela Effect is. So that's basically what I was saying in this video in reference to what's going on here. Now, in reference to CERN being involved in this whole program, CERN is just another version of magic tricks and just another version of like monkey, like a monkey with a smartphone sort of thing. CERN is basically, CERN telling you that CERN is shifting your reality is like Christopher Columbus discovering America. It's total bullshit. It's a total lie when you understand the depths of the infinite space of consciousness that predates Columbian history, that and predates the university system and everything that led up to the technology of CERN. Consciousness predates technology. Your body is the technology. Your software, your consciousness is the technology of this experience that has ultimately nothing to do with these little cheap magic tricks of technological magicians who want to convince you that things are the way they tell you that they are. It's no different than NASA telling you that you live on a ball or a pear or some kind of oblate, whatever the hell they want to call it, to make you believe in the actual magic, the magician. The heliocentric model is designed to make you believe in the magician, not necessarily understand the magic trick itself. They will never tell you how the magic trick works. The trick is to make you believe in the magician. So CERN telling you about that is like Christopher Columbus discovering the new world. So CERN is going to be this new world that is trying to make you believe in the magicians of the new world, a new Columbian era. So he discovered this, and that supposedly proved the round Earth. So when CERN is coming out now, the side perspective of that, like the round Earth perspective from Columbus sailing the ocean blue and all that shit, will be this quantum experience, this quantum reality. So they want you to believe in the quantum reality, possibly the simulation theory, still all based upon the heliocentric model. And since the flat earth is going mainstream now, it'll be easy for them to integrate the flat earth and possibly even the infinite plane of experience from a scientism perspective. They're only going to ever give you 10% of understanding the reality at best, so they can maintain the 90% of energy through consciousness and ignorance and illusion over the masses to maintain control over people and the haves and the have-nots. So they can science the shit out of flat earth, they can science the shit out of CERN and their idea of a simulated experience, but they will never go into the balances of nature, because that will take away the power, the so-called power of the powers that be, so-called powers that be. So the Mandela Effect is is the shifting of consciousness. How I'm seeing it is the shifting of consciousness, where you will have beings of a lower vibration who will believe in, who need that's their only choice. It's not like they're of a lower vibration because other people are higher. No, it's because people don't have another choice. Like people who emotionally react to something, they have no other way of responding to something. So that is relative to their level of consciousness. So people who can't look at any of the flat earth stuff or even challenge the globe earth, that's because they're not ready. That's their level of consciousness, is part of it. So people who aren't looking into consciousness or the non-physical reality and so on and so forth, it's not because of they're dumb or ignorant or something like that. No, on a non-judgmental, purely existing scale, it's everybody is on their own time. Everybody, that you have the collective time, and then you have the individual time, your soul time. It's time to experience certain things, and it's not time to experience certain things for certain people. So we have all of these things that are being placed in front of us to make us believe in what we are told. This system is synthetic. It's a magic trick, trying to, like, buying Twitter followers, 16 million Twitter followers. That's basically like a YouTuber buying 16 million subscribers. It's the same thing. Like, what kind of effect that would have? Like, look at Jenna Marble. She's got 16 million subscribers now. And like, people see her as like the biggest or one of the biggest YouTubers out there. Same thing with like PewDiePie and Casey Neistat and all these like leading YouTubers. That's an actual energy, no different than the mainstream media. They are putting out the same energies, consciousness, that maintain a level of consciousness over the people. This is why the trending is out there. And this stuff is amplified. It's not only happening on its own, but it's amplified by the system to maintain the storyline that adds to people believing in the magic spells. So they will put other people out in front of you who believe in the magic spells to make you believe in the so-called powers that be behind the veil, who are pulling the strings of these puppets, who don't see themselves as puppets because that's how deep this shit goes. It's just like, It's not based upon any one individual. It's the entire chess, the three-tiered chess game of the soul, the mind, and the body. So locking us into lower vibrations is like locking people into the physical reality. It's very dense. So the more dense that you get, the more separated that you are. The more separated that you are, the more you can be controlled. The more separated you will be from understanding your true power. This is the intention of the system as a whole. To densify you, to lock you into lower vibrations. This is what the public education system is. It's what the university system is. This is what this CERN perspective of the Mandela Effect is, to lock you into the dense version of technology, this fake version of consciousness and experience as a whole through a filter. No different than religious dogma, preachers, your university professors who are teaching you illusions. It needs to filter you in order to maintain those people putting money in the basket in the church, and people putting money in the university system, and truly believing in that system. And like I said, they have to sell you some things that are positive with ultimately the negative. But as long as you're soaking out the positive and you're not allowing your experience to be manipulated consciously by it, then, experience your reality for what it is. So the more we are labeled, the more we are separated, the denser we become, the more separated we become. The more connected you are is about raising your vibration. The more you're understanding your roots, the more you're understanding your connections to this system, the more you will start to destroy and hold accountable these synthetic parasites who have infiltrated the beautiful relationship that humanity has with the earth plane experience. And these viruses, these parasites will be seen for what they are, and they will be removed from this system eventually in their own way. So the side effects to this bullshit, like I said, you can reconnect with your dreams when you get outside of the synthetic magic tricks. On the opposite side, the parasitic side, the synthetic side, you have these assholes on television for decades. Bill Maher's been on TV for decades. Just imagine if Bill Cosby was sitting in that seat and he said this shit back in 1993 or whenever the hell he said it. He would never have been heard of back then and up until now. He would have been totally ostracized, I think that's the word, from the mainstream, from everything, if he had said this. But Bill Maher is still on HBO today talking about politics. He had a fucking meeting with Barack Obama. Barack Obama went on his television show 20-something years later after he said this shit. You have to be completely ignorant of what's going on if you think that this Hollywood government shit, this Western civilization, is separate from what's happening in the church. It's all one story. One story that's going on. And this is the destructive, nasty, fucked up vibrations that are going on behind the veils, behind those magic tricks, behind people not standing in their power and understanding the relationships. And they're trying to double down, the so-called powers that be are trying to double down on that destructive program. And you have people like Stephen Hawking and Neil deGrasse Tyson and all these other people who are selling fear porn to try to make you believe in a particular level of consciousness, which is like technology, CERN, going to Mars, going to the moon, thinking that they can install consciousness as artificial intelligence into a robot and so on and so forth, in order to make this system out to be the superhero based upon these artificial villains that they've themselves have created, like climate change and overpopulation and all this other stuff. And no different than telling you that black people are dangerous criminals who are just destroying. No, this is all a lie. It's all no different than them telling you that, you know, we need to spray some chemicals in the sky to reflect the sunlight energy because to combat climate change, when they're not ever talking about the emissions itself and the origins of the program that created that system and the depths of the relationship that humanity has with the earth as a whole. It will never go into that, because you will start to remove the foundations of the castle as a whole, the sand castle. So they got these pieces of shit like Bill Gates and Mark Zuckerberg and Stephen Hawking talking about, without a world government, technology will destroy us. The aggression may destroy us by nuclear or biological war. We need to control this inherited instinct by our logic and reason. That is cheap magic, trying to make you believe in this shit. And since they made a movie about this guy, put it on HBO, like, yeah, all of this is just to make you believe in what this individual is saying. No different than, Jenna Marbles or somebody else being put on the trending ad talking about, 100 layers of nail polish or something like that. Just these dead, empty ass experiences. And then, like I said, the positive side is, oh, well, you have, like, she's a really nice person, very funny and all this other stuff. And then people will defend you for that, never going into the deeper, defend her for that, never going into the deeper layers of, the effect that this has on people on the other end, and the way this magic is being manipulated. Same way like Stephen Hawking and all this other bullshit. This is no different than the channelers that are out there in the new age community selling you linear programs. It's no different. This is one storyline. They're making you think and act a certain way. Channeling is a linear energy, acting like it's infinite. It's acting like it is the collective consciousness when it gets out there. No, it's not. If you have to go into a trance-like state to tap into what you call the collective consciousness of humanity, it needs to become love and light. You got something fucking wrong with you. There's something missing there. You don't have to do that to go into that space. It doesn't need to be this dramatic ass show. And in fact, when you see that they are severing their connections to tap into this idea, it's like diet infinity. It's diet consciousness. That's what channeling is. Diet collective consciousness. And it's 99%. They're telling you it's 99% good for you because it's diet. But that 1% is fucking aspartame. That 1% is aspartame, and over time, it will destroy you. And that's the intention, for you to drink 300 gallons of diet consciousness so that 30 years down the road, the individuals who sold you that diet consciousness make bank off of your codependency, off of that aspartame, and eventually it will shorten your life. That is what the intention is. But since you're so thirsty, you haven't drank anything, you're living in a desert of consciousness, if somebody shows up with a diet consciousness, you're going to drink that shit up. And that's what channelers are. And they're limited. This is by their own understandings or their own definitions of themselves. they can't release certain information. They can't speak on certain things. They can't directly engage in humanity. Why is that? Because humanity, the consciousness of humanity, is ultimately tapped into a deeper layer of that unconditional love and collective consciousness, deeper than these channelers are. So if you are channeling your energy into a limitation program, a linear program, then you are channeling yourself out of your maximum potential. And that's the intention of these channelers. That's the intention of the New Age program. It's the intention of the Scientism program, to channel your energy into a limited perspective, a limited layer of consciousness, so that you become codependent on the program as a whole, the outside program behind the veil. And it turns itself into a weapon. It becomes a weapon. But since it's a weapon dressed in sprinkles, like that piece of shit caked in sprinkles, you could just eat it up. You're just like, oh, well, this is good information. Like when people get whipped by the consciousness information that comes out of channelers like Bashar and Cryon and Abraham Hicks, when they set some of these people straight, when they have these questions about, humanity or their relationships, or when they get set straight, that's like the hardened piece of shit caked in sprinkles whip that's cracked on people's back, like, oh, thank you for setting me straight. But they're not telling you anything that you're not capable of understanding on your own. And that's the intention of the whole thing. It's to make you believe in this level of consciousness as if it's the end all be all. It's not. You yourself are connected. You yourself are that flower of experience that is the most complex and beautifully the existence itself that you are is technology from the Most High. Each individual is in itself a technology from the Most High. A relationship between the balances of nature, the divine masculine and the divine feminine, and everything else that is connected after that experience is all on purpose. It has a meaning and a purpose. These parasitic magicians and these magic spells are designed to keep us from realizing those relationships. Every time you do something that resonates on your highest good, your highest intent, your highest intuition, you are expanding your consciousness. Every time you do something like that, you are expanding not only for yourself, but for everybody and everything. So just realize what's happening now when you have people who are constantly subjecting themselves to a parasitic consciousness. Like I said in previous videos, you have Dr. Martin Luther King's, Malcolm X, Mozart, Debussy, Chopin. You have Beethoven's, all these people working at Home Depot and Frito-Lay and Office Depot and Pack and Save. You have all these people working at Pack and Save trying to sell other people poisons. So this is telling them that it's keeping them alive. No, it's shortening our lives. It's this diet consciousness leaked like with dots of aspartame, just like they're telling you that they're providing you water with the plumbing throughout your city, but they're dropping fluoride in the water. So this is no different than people defending technology or the university system because they believe that that's the pinnacle of human evolution, because they believe in monkey mind evolution. It's no different. This is all one program. But what I'm saying is that this affects how we experience our reality. We won't be able to tap into the language that doesn't need to be spoken if we are completely locked into a density program that is based upon magic spells and illusion. That's what allows this program to maintain haves and have-nots and artificial gods and kings, is because we allow ourselves to be consumed by the densities, and we simultaneously don't resonate on our highest vibrations, which doesn't expand the level of consciousness to our maximum potential. We just constantly just live in this vicarious experience. So this, when we are locked into the density program, it is literally affecting our consciousness. It's affecting time. It's affecting the velocity of the expansion of consciousness. It's affecting us on every layer. And since we are so linear, we are so locked into, our emotional bodies or the logic program or whatever it is, we're so linear. We take things personally and look at things from certain ways. We don't really see, we never tap into the nonlinear perspectives of our reality. We get consumed by one layer of reality and say that's just how it is. But no, when you manipulate history, you're manipulating consciousness. When you manipulate history and consciousness, or you're manipulating time, you're manipulating the relationship that humanity has with the experience as a whole, with individuals have with their soul essence, and how the soul essence experiences and expands their consciousness. If you came here to have a soul essence, if you are a soul experience in a physical body, in a physical reality, there's a meaning and a purpose there that goes into the depths of who and what you are. If you are if you are diverted off of that path and locked into the illusions, which is another form you can see as being separated from your dreams, from going into kindergarten and then being mind controlled by the heliocentric program. If you are separated by that, that will affect the way you experience time, your soul time. That can happen individually. If that can happen individually, it damn for sure is happening collectively. So this is what I'm saying is happening with the Mandela Effect. Our history has been manipulated. Our culture has been manipulated. These parasites have gotten into how we interpret our experience, and not to just control us on a physical layer, but to manipulate consciousness as a whole. And when that happens, then that affects time and the experience, the world as a whole, the world clock, the world time. See, we're still on Greco-Roman calendars and time. We're still on this limited version of reality. And since it's given us smartphones and a Toyota Corolla, then we just think, oh, well, that's just amazing. We're just the amazing monkeys of the universe. We're amazing monkeys. So I can't wait till we take some of our amazing monkeys into a SpaceX ship and, fly to Mars. And, that's going to be a good TV show. All right, man. I think I'm done with this video. I'm done. That's enough. So yeah, the Mandela Effect. One of the reasons why I haven't spoke on it in a while is because ultimately I laid it all out earlier, a year ago, how I see it, and it hasn't really changed since then. I'm not too concerned with, what's happening within the Mandela Effect, the little things here and there, because how I interpret it is from the conscious perspective of reality, the non-physical reality, which the Mandela Effect is just like side effects to us tapping into the balances of nature. It's just like people reconnecting with their dreams. If you disconnect from this illusory reality, then you will start to gain more awareness, and you can start to gain awareness of your dreams and so on and so forth. The New Age program is another separation program to lock you into another linear version of reality. Like I was saying, channeling is generic. It's synthetic infinity. It's trying to tell you that it is the end all be all of, information that you need to know. But if it's not rooted in the relationship that you have to your brothers and sisters around the earth plane, then it's half-assed at best, and it's ultimately apathy. It's apathy dressed in love and light sprinkles, and people are falling for that because we haven't had any sweetness, love and light, or anything forever because we've been in a desert. So people are drinking that diet consciousness with aspartame and constantly just telling themselves, well, it's just a little bit of aspartame, and I don't drink this every day, and I don't listen to channelers every day, so it's not affecting me. But you're drinking one diet consciousness every one sip of that aspartame every week or every other week, and that's all you need to trigger you back into that level of consciousness, because ultimately it's triggering you out of your maximum potential, and that's the intention. We were being manipulated by fear, ultimately, largely, and still are, because all of the pieces have to be played. We were ultimately maintained, the level of consciousness was maintained by fear back in the day. Now it's shifting into the idea of manipulating people to be controlled by the idea of love and light. That's what the New Age program is. That's what CERN is going to be. That's what channeling already is. That's what the mainstream media is, when they tell you to believe in all this stuff and these people are your saviors, when everything that's been stolen, everything that you worship in technology, there were ancient technologies that predate this shit we have today. But you won't ever know about that. Why? Because it has to maintain a limited level of consciousness and understanding to maintain the so-called powers that be. And that's ultimately what's going on here. So that's pretty much it. Thank you for joining me. And until next time, I keep looking at this picture. That seems like a good. Anyway, from all my relations, peace, love, and harmony.